We need to have a conversation. So some of the more observant among you may have noticed that I've recently taken an extremely brief blink and you'll miss it sabbatical of around about 20 months. These things happen. I was feeling a little burnt out after over a year of weekly uploads. I no longer felt I was putting out my best work. Decided to take a break. Seeing as how I only afforded myself a measly year and 2/3 to recover, I naively assumed I would more or less be able to pick right back up where I left off, reputation intact. So imagine my surprise when, actually, you know what? Let's take a look at this together. Let's look at this together. I'm gonna boot up my PlayStation 5 here. You know, I figured I would be desensitized to this by now, but it is still hitting just as hard. It has recently come to my attention that over the course of my little momentary lapse in presence, one of the games that I previously 100% completed right here on my channel received a DLC update, adding new content and notably additional trophies to the existing trophy list. This means that despite me having previously 100% completed this game, it now displays at less than 100% on my PSN profile. Do you know what somebody might think if they saw this? If somebody saw this, they might think that I'm a casual gamer. I have friends on PlayStation Network. Oh my god, my friends have seen this. Alright. Here's what we're gonna do. So, whether or not my reputation has been permanently destroyed by this embarrassment is something that I will have to grapple with myself in the coming hours, days, weeks, months, and years. But either way, it is clear that this affront to my completionism cannot be allowed to stand. So I guess that means today we're going to be completing the Bugsnax Isle of Big Snacks DLC. Alright, so if it isn't already clear by this point, this video is a follow-up to my original video covering Bugsnax that I released shortly after the game launched back in late 2020. If you haven't seen that video, I would highly suggest you go ahead and give it a watch. It offers a lot of context that I would consider borderline necessary to fully understand what I'm going to be covering today. I'm well aware that not everybody is going to do that though, so in the name of accessibility, I'll do an extremely brief recap of all of the pertinent information up to this point. In Bugsnax, you play as a reporter in a world filled with these Sesame Street-looking creatures known as Grumpuses. On the verge of losing your job, you're sent to the ever-mysterious Snacktooth Island to interview Elizabeth Megafig, famed explorer who has recently gone missing. Snacktooth Island is inhabited by the titular Bugsnax, enigmatic creatures that are half bug, half snack, which apparently can be humanely eaten alive and then allowed to transform various parts of your body into the aforementioned food items. It's a weird game. From a gameplay perspective, you'll spend most of your time traveling around to different uniquely themed biomes to solve puzzles and capture and document as many different species of Bugsnax as possible. Along the way, you'll meet all sorts of colorful characters and be expected to complete side quests, as well as listen to them talk about their shockingly complex and well-written interpersonal issues in an effort to gather them all back together in the city of Snaxburg. In my original video, I, as always, completed the game to 100%, which involved cataloging every different type of Bugsnax, following every questline to its conclusion, and a healthy assortment of additional challenges to unlock the Platinum Trophy. At the time, I had almost exclusively praises to sing about the experience, and was left with, overall, a very positive impression. Today, we'll be revisiting the game to cover the Isle of Big Snacks, a free DLC update that was released earlier this year. Or earlier last year, depending on how quickly I get this video released. Right off the bat though, this DLC proves itself a bit difficult to talk about in isolation. So, basically, unlike a lot of other DLCs which may opt to tell their stories as a prequel or direct sequel, maybe a parallel to the original plot, when it comes to the Isle of Big Snacks, the developers more or less decided to just retcon this new narrative into the existing story. With the update installed, a new questline will simply be available to anyone who's already completed all of the missions associated with the correct 5 characters. The actual plot is pretty simple. After Snorpy detects some anomalous seismic readings in a beat straight out of Fortnite Chapter 3 Season 2, you accompany him and Chandlo to the beach where you witness a massive island unceremoniously erupt from the ocean just offshore. Naturally, from there you assemble a crack team consisting of a couple of the other villagers, and set sail on an expedition to the island of Broken Tooth. Yeah, the actual island from the Isle of Big Snacks is called Broken Tooth for some reason. I think maybe because the main island is called Snacktooth, and this island, like, broke off from it at some point. I'm not sure if that's ever really explained, but anyway, the island is home to the ruins of a once great ancient Grumpus civilization, long since lost to the ocean. It is also, predictably, inhabited exclusively by all new, never-before-seen indigenous species of Bugsnax. The gimmick, of course, being, on Broken Tooth, all of the ancient Bugsnax you'll encounter are absolutely massive. Your goal on Broken Tooth is actually not all that dissimilar to that of the other biomes in the game. In order to get to the bottom of its many mysteries, you'll need to help your traveling companions complete a series of various different character missions by exploring the area, scanning artifacts, and solving short puzzles. For what it is, the setup isn't bad. It lays out some fun character interactions and makes at least as much sense as the rest of the game's plot, which I'm using as a compliment here. If I had to levy a criticism, I will admit as a returning player there were a couple of points early on where I felt the pace dragged a little bit. I wasn't quite reinvested in the characters yet, so I did get pretty eager at times to just be able to jump into the action. That didn't last all too long though, and I was more than rewarded for my patience when I finally got to explore. Broken Tooth presents as a really unique cross between an underwater wilderness and the lost city of Atlantis. I'm a bit of a sucker for this kind of environment, and especially for the style of Atlantis-inspired architecture, so I'm super impressed that it's executed as well as it is here. The entire island feels as if a jungle sprouted out of a coral reef. It's really very distinctive, and in all honesty is probably one of my favorite areas to come out of this game, right up there with Boiling Bay from the mainland. Of course, when you aren't exploring, you'll be trying your best to capture and catalog the many different species of absolutely gargantuan Bugsnax scattered all throughout the area. None of the other biomes in the game really have a comparable gimmick, so the whole all of them being big thing is pretty novel. Since they're obviously too big to trap as is, before you can catch any given snack, you'll need to hit them with a jar of special shrink spice that will temporarily reduce their size and give you a chance to make your move. As usual, each Bugsnax is kind of like its own mini puzzle, and I feel like the added layer of complexity that comes with having to shrink them down to size is a worthwhile shakeup. As you would expect, some of the solutions are pretty clever, requiring you to trick them into eating the spice of their own volition, or needing you to map out their path so you can get them to run into it, while other times you just end up having to brute force it and chuck a jar at their head when they aren't looking. It's a really fun process, made even more so by the fact that these new Bugsnax are designed just as well, if not better, than anything we saw in the main game. They're just so charming. I mean, it is simply impossible to not fall in love with this game all over again the second you encounter your first Clobsteroni. Actually, I just want to take a moment to talk about this. So in my original video I covered how if you're playing on PlayStation 5, this game actually makes really good use of the DualSense controller with haptic feedback and really well implemented use of the adaptive triggers. And one of the best things they do with this is anytime you catch a Bugsnax, you can hear them do their little Pokemon cry through the speaker like they're in the controller. And I need you all to hear the sound that I was confronted with when I first captured my new all-time favorite Bugsnax, Millie Mochi.
Mochi? Millie Mochi. Millie Mochi. Millie Mochi.
Why does he sound like that? That is just a grown man whining the name of a frozen snack food into a microphone. I looked him up. His name is Jeremy. How much did he get paid to do this? I love this game so much. I need you to please go play it. Unfortunately, throughout the DLC, there are only a total of 12 new Bugsnax to collect, and what's even weirder is you don't even need to catch all of them for 100% completion. Like, pre-update, there were a total of 100 in the game, and there was an achievement for catching them all, but with the DLC, they didn't bother updating or adding a new achievement to account for the additional Bugsnax that are available, so now you can just, like, afford to miss 12 throughout the game and still get 100%, which I'm not crazy about. No surprise, I opted to fully fill out the journal. The story of the Isle of Bigsnax really doesn't take all that long to complete, but it's honestly really solid, and importantly provides some very nice additional character development for our main cast that I was super excited to see. It admittedly took me just a bit to get back into, but before long I was once again fully invested in the lives and mental health of these food muppets to a degree that I would not think possible. And again, I just want to take a moment to restate, the story of this game is actually pretty serious, believe it or not, with this DLC taking the opportunity to explore some of the complex subjects introduced in the main story deeper than ever before. I did the majority of my playthrough at like 2 in the morning, and I legitimately was not prepared to get personally called out to the extent that I did in some of these conversations. I don't want to oversell it, but it's really good. You need to play it for yourself. Sadly, that's really all there is to Broken Tooth, a short couple of hour romp back in the mysterious world of Bugsnax. But for those so inclined, this update does actually still have quite a bit more to offer. Alright, so in the base game, when you first arrive in Snaxburg, you're assigned a hut to live in that stays perpetually under construction. Well now, with the update installed, the fruits of Chanlo's labor can finally come to fruition and you're able to move in. You can customize your new hut however you want, with rugs, tables, wall art, trinkets, or plants, but in order to get your hands on any of these decorations, you'll have to earn them by completing side quests assigned to you by the townsfolk via mail. Fully decorating your hut is required for a trophy, so you'll need to pay attention to these missions if you're going for 100%. This whole objective definitely feels like it was built first and foremost for people starting new save profiles post-update. I believe the intention is that these mail quests would be completed gradually throughout the course of your playthrough, but of course, tons of people will be returning with existing save files, so for them, they're granted retroactive completion status for any would-be quests they might have already finished before such quests existed. This is obviously great, in theory, since you'd end up having to replay half the game otherwise, but the way it's implemented is incredibly kludgy in my opinion. When you first open your mailbox, you're just bombarded with 50 plus letters congratulating you for finishing tasks you don't remember starting, assigning you new tasks, and rewarding you with furniture. It feels very confusing and disorganized, and the whole thing was just pretty overwhelming. Even having previously 100%ed the game, I still had to spend quite a bit of time clearing up some additional missions. Most of them are fairly easy, consisting mostly of fetch quests for items or bug snacks, but when done in a gauntlet at the end of the game like this, the whole process gets kind of annoying. Once you're done, you can move on to your last objective, the Dapper Capper Trophy, which requires you to track down 10 of the new collectible hats that now have a chance to spawn randomly on Bugsnax heads when you enter an area. I actually have to admit, going after these hats was pretty satisfying and enjoyable. You have to comb through an entire biome systematically to figure out where it might be, and afterwards you can take them back to Gramble's farm and play dress up with some of your favorite snacks, which is all I ever really wanted out of this game. By the end of my time with the Isle of Big Snacks DLC, I ended up spending a fair bit more time just grinding out random additional objectives than I ever did on the actual island of Broken Tooth, which I think kind of highlights my only real complaint with this update. It definitely seems like it was made primarily for new players. And that's totally fine. Remember, this is a completely free update available to anyone at no additional cost. In my opinion, it adds a great deal of value to the game for a fresh player of any type, and the actual Broken Tooth storyline is more than enough to draw in a returning casual. But if, like me, you're a completionist looking to reclaim 100%, well, this is kind of an odd trophy list, isn't it? I feel like the real takeaway here is just that you should play Bugsnax if you haven't already. When my original video released, the game was a PlayStation console exclusive, and it was exclusive to the Epic Games Store on PC, so basically it was a PlayStation exclusive. Now though, in addition to PS4 and PS5, you can pick up Bugsnax on Steam, or on Xbox where it's available through Game Pass on both current-gen console and PC. There's even a Switch version if you're okay with playing the game at 720p 30 FPS and no achievement support. Because the Nintendo Switch is terrible. This is a super fun and satisfying title, only made more so by this most recent expansion, and it's one that I am proud to once again have on my list of 100% completed games. Alright, I'm hoping that marks crisis abated for now. If my reputation has any chance of recovering, that was probably a good first step in the right direction. Of course, I guess if I really wanted to patch things up, the best thing I could probably do would be to continue from here 100% completing as many new games as possible until this whole ordeal is nothing more than an unpleasant memory. So I guess if you want to see that happen, hit subscribe and ring the bell so you can be notified of all my future endeavors. Seriously though, if you did enjoy the video, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a like and drop a comment down below letting me know what you think. I'm always looking to improve, so your feedback is crucial. I really appreciate it. Additionally, if you have any interest, my social media can be found down below, as always, along with any of the music that I used in this video. Alright, now that that's done, I think I'll just take a moment to admire my prized possession, my 100% completion status in Maneater. Ah!